Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, scheduling permitted, to address whatever topics you might like to discuss, whatever issues of life you find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. You can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships. Whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind, God is concerned about that which concerns you. So we are here in 3D, brought to you by Fiji Water. You may already know that Fiji Water is Earth's finest water, which comes from Fiji. However, did you know it is created by nature, it is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock. The water collects in a natural artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is Earth's finest water. And for those of you who continue giving on the give segment of our app at New Life Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast, we thank you for your commitment and your support as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here to address whatever topics you might like to discuss, whatever issues of life you find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. So you can call every day or text on the T-Mobile caller text line to share whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind, because God is concerned about that which concerns you. So I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that there is a significant amount of tension in both your personal and your professional life, and you want to know how do you reduce the tension. So let me begin by saying this. Do not just look to reduce the tension, eliminate the tension, which is going to require you to make some changes in your life. So let's begin addressing the personal side of it. So, often I tell people that, our attitude is going to be a significant part of our opportunity to maximize, first of all, to be successful, and then to maximize the success, and then to experience the fullness of God, and then to maximize the fullness of God. So it all begins with our attitude. So you're going to have to make some changes in your attitude, both personally and professionally. And you might want to know what those changes are, and God allowed me to see in that secret place of your life. You've got to be mindful of how you communicate with others. Let's start there. Communication is key. Language is everything. You've got to be mindful how you communicate with others. And on a personal level, you've got to try to communicate more openly. You have to take the time to communicate with those who are playing a significant role in your life, your daily life. And you're going to have to really examine the way you communicate with others in your professional environment. So it starts at home. So if you can't communicate with the people inside your own home and your relatives, for example, that are close to you, if you can't communicate with those people who love you unconditionally, if you cannot communicate with them openly and effectively, you're going to find it difficult to communicate effectively and efficiently with people in your professional environment. Your practice begins at home. Your attitude is going to determine both personally, your attitude personally is going to determine how your attitude is going to be presented professionally. So it all begins, there's an old adage that it all begins at home. And it does. Even as we age through the process. If you're, listen, if you're married, and this is for all of our listeners and viewers, if you're married and you have children, married with children, how about that? If you can't talk to your spouse with decency and communicate with your spouse effectively, I'm not saying that you have to talk all the time. I'm not saying that there has to be, constant dialogue going on 24/7. Well, I should say 16 hours out of the day that you have to be able to, have some type of conversation. That's not what I'm suggesting, because it's unrealistic to think that you're going to even speak to your spouse for 16 hours a day, because we have to work, we have to sleep, and then what we have to really examine is how we're communicating with our spouse. So if you can't talk to your spouse with dignity and with courtesy, you're probably going to do the same thing in your professional environment, because you've been practicing. And the more you do that, it takes 10,000 hours to master something. So the more you do that, it's going to become a pattern. And we're going to believe that some of the things that we say at home that we get away with because people love us, or don't say at home because people love us, they'll overlook it. But in the professional environment, it'll damage your career. So if you don't have the right attitude at home, it's going to translate into your professional environment. So you're going to have to make a change about that. And then you have to ask yourself, am I really becoming the best version of myself that I can become? What change can I make? And we talk about that often here. I've talked about this in Sunday sermons. We need to focus on becoming the best version of ourselves that we can become. You're not trying to become anyone else. You're not trying to do what anyone else is doing. You're trying to become the best version of yourself and what you do. So that's a change that we have to be willing to make. And then we have to make a commitment to that. We have to make a commitment that we want to, eliminate the tension from our personal and our professional life. And that takes commitment. It takes commitment to say, I'm going to change things about myself that I don't like about myself, and that I know the people who I deal with on a daily basis don't like about me. Because there are some things, we can love people, but we don't have to like them. We are required to love them in spite of themselves. Sometimes you gotta love people from afar. Sometimes you gotta love people from a distance. Sometimes you gotta love people up close. But the reality is, we don't have to like their personality. We don't have to desire to move them forward in life or to be a part of moving them forward in life, because, the Bible tells us don't cast your pearls before swine. So you really can't spend a lot of energy on people who are not making good decisions. So, and if you have children, the way you communicate with your children, that's going to be a factor, because all of that is practice. All of that is going to determine if you're able to eliminate the tension from your personal and professional life. Your personal life, you walk around on eggshells, everyone around you walks around on eggshells. And it's not because of the people around you, it's because of the tension you've allowed to be created. And then you go into your professional environment and you have to do the same thing. You have to walk around on eggshells, and everyone around you is walking around on eggshells, because what you've practiced at home has carried over into your professional environment. And that's for all of us. I don't care how young you are or how old you are. Who you are is going to make a very important decision on the tension you're going to have in both your personal and professional life. So you have to be willing to make some changes. And you have to have the desire to make that change. And then, as you know, I've talked about seeking the spirit of excellence. So that's going to change some of the tension in your environment. When you're focused on being the very best version of yourself that you could possibly become, when you're focusing on being excellent at both your personal life and your professional life, that is going to begin to transcend through your environment. That's going to begin to become part of your daily life, the quality of your life. So many people are living with drama and tension that they've been doing it for so long that they don't even know they're living with drama and tension. Fortunately enough, you've identified there is some tension in your personal and professional life. So now you can make change. I've often said this, and I'm sure I'll be saying this for years to come. Sometimes we do the wrong thing or do things the wrong way for so long that we think it's the right way to do them, or we think that it is the right way to get things done. And the reality is that it's not. If we're going to be the best that we can become, if we're going to be the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become, if we're going to experience the fullness of God in all of our lives, if we're going to maximize the fullness of God, we're going to have to, and I talked about this in yesterday's Sunday sermon, so you can go view our YouTube channel, New Life Christian Center - Pastor Pope, and you can view yesterday's Sunday sermon. But one of the things I talked about is continuously examining ourselves. So this is a good thing. It's a good thing that you're talking about this tension that exists in both your personal and professional life, because what you're doing is you're examining your environment. And once you examine, you can make changes. You can make the necessary changes and adjustments to be successful, to experience the fullness of God. That's really what we should be working towards every single day. And I think part of the problem for many of us is that we don't spend every day working to maximize, first of all, our own success, and second of all, the fullness of God in our lives. And let me go a little further with this. We spend a lot of time every day doing a lot of different things. But are those things contributing to making us the best version of ourselves that we can become, that we can possibly become, the best version? Are those things going to lead to the fullness of God in our lives? Are the things we're doing every single day going to maximize the fullness of God in our lives? So no matter how youthful you are, no matter how much older you've become, if we're still here, that should be our daily goal. If we're still living this life, not conforming to the world, but renewing our mind to the place where we are seeking every single day to become the best version of ourselves that we can become. That's how people often ask me, how do you become successful? And I tell them that becoming successful is an everyday process. When you become the best version of yourself that you can possibly become in any specific area of your life, we should then work to maximize it. We should work every single day to achieve that goal. And then once you've mastered that, you can move to another component of your life that you want to maximize the best version of yourself. We're constantly becoming a better version of ourselves if we're working towards that end. But if we're not working towards that end, then we're not going to experience the fullness of God. So you've identified this tension that exists. And if I can just bring you through the process, your tension primarily is created by your attitude. So I'm going to encourage you and challenge you and encourage you to make a change in your attitude and disposition. And you're going to begin to see some of the tension drop off. And then just continue to become the best version of yourself that you could possibly become. make a commitment daily to examine yourself and to have the desire to seek excellence. And believe in the possibilities. It requires us to have faith. Believe in the possibilities of what God can do in your life. If you remove yourself and your attitude from the equation and allow God to take control of your life. You have to live it, but allow God to take control. And that means making a bigger commitment to your spiritual growth. Everything else will fall in line once you've done that. Once you've achieved that next level of your spiritual growth, you'll find that you achieve the next level in your personal life and in your professional life. But change begins with us all, each and every one of us, making change that will allow us to become the best version of ourselves. And that will allow you to eliminate the tension that you're experiencing in your life. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G nationwide. You can now experience T-Mobile, America's largest nationwide 5G provider, at no extra charge. If you're not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will place you into our queue so that you can become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest nationwide 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill at T-Mobile, America's largest nationwide 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated you are having a difficult time building financial security. So your question is, how can you accomplish financial security while remaining with your current company? So you love your job and you love the company that you're with. There's some steps that you're going to have to take to achieve financial security, and you're going to need to take those steps one step at a time. So the first thing is, because you know you want to stay at your company, I'm going to encourage you to work for a promotion. So let me tell you what that looks like. Everything that you've been doing to date in the current job, the current position that you hold, has allowed you to sustain yourself in that position and sustain your income. So I've often said, you don't work for the job you have, you work for the job you want. You don't become satisfied with the position that you have, you work for the next level of a position. So you've got to identify what promotion you want to accomplish, and then you have to work to that end. So that's the first step. It's just a first step. And that will result in an increase in income. And when you increase that income, see, you didn't know where I was going with this, so I'm going to walk you through the whole process. When you receive that increase of income, do not start living on the increase of income. Live on your current salary and take that increase. And the first thing you're going to do is begin saving. And then you're going to prepare to invest. And I'll get there in a moment. The next step you're going to do is you're going to go back right where you are right now, and you're going to revise your budget. You're going to examine where you are on your budget currently, and you're going to make some revisions. You're going to, listen, it's a perfect time for all of our listeners and viewers to cut back on some of your expenses because we're in a pandemic. I recognize that you're not going to be able to cut back on everything, so don't think I'm saying that. Don't think I'm suggesting that. Some line items you're just going to shift to a different line item because you're working from home. So, you may have, you might not have the dry cleaning bill you had when you were working in the office. You might not have the commuting costs that you had while you were working in the office, but you're probably going to be, your utilities are going to go up, your food bill is going to go up. Some line items are going to shift even in the midst of a pandemic, but there are some things that you can reduce, and they start with entertainment. So you go back and look at how much money you spent during the pandemic on entertainment and reduce some of those costs. And then look at every line item on your budget and determine if it's needed or can be reduced. Can it be eliminated or can it be reduced? So I'll give you a prime example. You're someone who had a pet who has now, you had to put down. So I'll use that term. You had to, I was going to say has gone to pet heaven, but you had to put a pet down. Okay. So the question is, do you really need another pet? Now you might think that that pet is giving you some emotional stability, but the truth of the matter is it's a responsibility. So do you want to have the cost of the pet? Do you want to have the cost of health care for the pet? Do you want to have the cost of, ownership, food, the time that it costs you to go out every day and walk them, all of those things. Do you even want to get another pet? That's a line item that could possibly be eliminated from your budget. As I told you, entertainment. There are things you can look at on your budget and you can either eliminate or you can reduce. And when you make those reductions, whatever discretionary income you have, take that discretionary income and place it in savings. Now, the first step was working for a promotion which will increase your income, and then not increasing your cost of living, but saving that capital. And then, as I've always told everyone, you cannot save your way to wealth or to financial security, but you can save and invest your way to financial security. So the next step would be, and this is for anyone, the next step would be for you to invest in the stock market. Find publicly traded companies that you can buy shares and that you can leave those shares in your portfolio for a long period of time. Because that's your opportunity to build wealth over a long-term period. Then the other thing is, I encourage everyone, if you don't own real estate, you do not have a real estate. You've got to own property. That's going to be another method of you creating financial stability, financial security, and building wealth. And then you have to decide, are there any other streams of income that you can generate or create that will allow you to build your discretionary income portfolio for investment purposes. All of those things are going to lead to a more stable financial security in your life. But I'm going to take everyone a little further, all of our listeners and viewers. It's not just about having financial security. It's not just about having even financial stability. It's about building wealth. Building wealth that no matter how long you live your life, you will be able to live and have a great quality of life because you've taken the necessary steps to build wealth. So the method for you is to take one step at a time, and each new level you are creating another source of financial security and wealth building opportunity. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, check their store hours. They have everything a man could possibly need. Stop in at their retail stores. They have shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. I'm in Charles Tyrwhitt Attire today. If you are not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. They will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. And The White Company, located in London, the UK, they also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. If you're in New York, stop in at their retail store. They have everything that you could possibly need. Home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address another communication from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you have taken on too much financial responsibility. And now you feel the stress that comes with the financial burden. So here's the problem. The problem is you have taken on the financial responsibility of others. And you've got to recognize that you cannot take on the financial responsibility of others, because when they get to a place where they're not able to meet their financial obligations, then it's going to become your obligation. So, the Bible tells us you don't take usury for someone else. You don't sign up for someone else, because it will disrupt the quality of your life. The moment they don't pay, you're going to be responsible to make those payments. And we sometimes think that that might be okay, particularly when it's our loved ones, but the reality is that we then become enablers, because they know they don't have to do what's required of them because you're the safety net. You're not allowing people to grow. And the problem with that is that you have become their savior. And you're not Jesus. Jesus saves. You care and you love, but you can't save them. You have to allow them to go to the source, who is the source of all provisions. And you have to be there to emotionally support and psychologically support others on their journey. But you've taken on responsibilities, and you've taken on too much. So now let me tell you how you're going to have to rectify this situation. You're going to have to go back, and you're going to have to give them instruction on how to take the responsibility, the financial burden, the financial responsibility from you, and place it in their own hands. Allow them to be responsible for their own quality of life. Allow them to be responsible for building their own future. Because if you're building the future for them, they're never going to be able to be self-sufficient. And when I say that, they'll never depend on God for their sufficiency. Because that's what self-sufficiency really is. When you get to a place where you trust God to do in your life what he said he would do, and that is to provide all of your needs and to give you the guidance to live a victorious life, to live life and to have it more abundantly. Until you really believe that, it's going to be, and when I say that, meaning those that you have taken on that financial responsibility, until they get to the place where they understand that, it's going to be difficult for them, and it's going to be difficult for you. That's a stressful burden for you to carry for another adult. And it's not your burden to carry. It's for them to learn to navigate life by depending on God to do exactly what he has said he would do. and that is to provide all their needs. Maybe not all their wants, but certainly all their needs. We've got to remove ourselves from the equation and allow them to go to the Lord, who is their source, so that they can have a better quality of life, that they can build a better quality of life.